A long time ago, around 40 years, which is a long time in my allotted span, but nary a whisper in the overall scheme of things, I traveled with a friend to a place where mountain climbers would gather. It was at a bend on an old country road, just off to the side, a massive outcrop of dark rock that announced in its sheer prominence that this was why there was a bend in the road. While I sat on a rock in the warm sun, my friend, along with a few other climbers, began to work his way up various routes on the stone. Some bowed out until he was impossibly parallel to the ground, seemingly upside down, clinging like a spider, and he'd inch his way out until he could find a fingerhold on the more vertical rock, swing out, and pull himself up, grabbing on with his other hand, quickly finding toe holds to ease the pressure on his arms. Very impressive stuff. What I couldn't help but notice was that, with all of this, he never climbed more than 10 feet high, if that. He'd work his way along a route, then pop off the rock, landing lightly, dust off his hands, and start again. Or he'd fall, shake his head, mutter, and begin. I marveled at his ability to do this. I thought then, and I think now, that rock climbing is a physical model of the creative process. It's ultimately finding your way. After quite a while of this, I got up and took a stroll, examining the face of the rocky embankment. I found a place where I could see secure holes, what the fine writers call purchases, up the rock, in a clearly accessible path. As I did this, I began to convince myself that I could climb to the top, without interruption or danger, rather like ascending a ladder, a fairly routine operation. Eventually, I talked myself into giving it a go. Things went as I planned. It was exhilarating. I took it slowly, but encountered no difficulty, until I was about 5 feet from the top. Then I could clearly see that in order to advance, I would have to make a real climbing move. Just one, but there was no way of getting past it, and believe me, I scoured that rock face for an easier way. And going down was out of the question. While I was hanging there, suspended about 25 feet above the ground, a head popped out over the ledge above me. "Hey there," he said. "How are you doing?" "I'm okay," I said, though I'm sure he knew I was not. He looked me over, shrugged, and withdrew. I knew that the longer I refrained from making that move, the harder it would be. I could feel the strength draining out of my muscles. I had to release my left hand, push up, stab with it for a hold, then follow with my left foot, right hand. It was a lot to ask. I took a deep breath and I did it. As technique on the rock goes, I know it was a simple move. To me, it was a lifesaver. Needless to say, that was the end of my climbing career. My friend was prepared for it, with all that practice and the pull-ups he would do every day, putting his fingertips over the door jambs. But I did not lose interest in rock climbing. I read many books on the subject and, more recently, watched videos on the wonderful, bountiful internet. I stumbled into one, not knowing it was a climbing video, but it was short, 15 minutes, and it was called Force. I have been thinking about force and resistance lately, not as a physicist or an electrician, but in the social setting. So I was ready to watch this video and see what it had to say about force. As it moved on, I could see it was produced by an outfit called Duct Tape Then Beer. I relaxed and prepared to enjoy myself. And it was about rock climbing in Patagonia, at a famous formation called the Fitzroy Massif, a series of steep stone spikes. The problem here was more than rock climbing. There was snow and ice, terrible battering winds, having to ford over freezing, rushing streams, and bitter weather that could overwhelm in an instant. And there you are, hanging on that rock, thinking you maybe should be somewhere else, like safe and sound at home. And that's where I think the force comes in. For whatever reason, that rock forced these people to be there, and they have to force their way up it, beyond what they thought was peak capacity. It called for total commitment, first of all in time, simply getting there and waiting out the weather. In the course of the video, people said things that got my attention. Things like, you have to get your ass kicked. You don't get your ass kicked, you don't know what it's going to be like. And it's gone from being intimidating and scary to being kind of inviting. And I definitely want to inspire people to go out and have an adventure, to get cold, to get lost, and come to love it. And the more you come to know a place, the more you will care for it and want to protect it. And having a great time, scared, dreams of a lifetime becoming a reality. And nothing's ever easy here. Those people became avatars of John Muir. Nature does that to some people. They traded risk for security, danger for the comforts of home, and they would not have it any other way. Except for maybe me, when I was young, on that rock face. That was pure foolishness, not adventure.